Thank you, Ms Thomson. I now call Jenni Minto to be followed by Pam Gozo. Up to 4 minutes, please, Ms Minto.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Women taking up weapons, women confronting Russian soldiers, women caring for their loved ones. They are upholding the fundamental rights of not just women and girls, but everyone. I dedicate this speech to them. Conflict often makes us think in different ways to find solutions to life changed out of all recognition. Persuading Girl Guides, Sea Scouts and school children to collect sacks full of curly red seaweed on Scottish beaches might not be the most obvious wartime activity, but the knowledge of marine biologist Sheena Marshall was to prove vital to British medical research during the Second World War. Marshall and her colleagues identified this seaweed as the best homegrown source of agar, a jelly-like substance vital for growing bacteria in laboratories and the development of vaccines. Japan was the world's main supplier of this, but when their entry into World War II made it essential to find other sources. As a child of the Isle of Bute, Sheena suffered from rheumatic fever and, while recovering, immersed herself in the writings of Charles Darwin. After graduating in 1919 with a degree from University of Glasgow in zoology, she made her life's work the study of plankton in marine food chains and examining the effect of fertilisers on marine productivity, the west coast of Scotland's coastline being her laboratory. Her pioneering work served her country through the war and beyond. And today, students at the Scottish Association for Marine Science in Oban study in a building named in Sheena Marshall's memory. In 1934, Bessie Williamson started a summer job as a secretary at Lefroy Distillery on Islay. This was to have a profound impact on the whisky industry. After owner Ian Hunter suffered a stroke in 1938, her managerial skills ensured the distillery remained in good working order throughout World War II. And after the war, she noticed newspapers were giving increasing coverage to the merits of Scotch whisky's peaty notes. So instead of wasting Lefroy's peaty punch in blends, Bessie began to market Lefroy single malt, driving higher prices for a luxury product. Her efforts were noticed by the Scots Whisky Association, and she took on the role of US spokesperson, travelling across America promoting Scotch whisky, but particularly single malts. So influential was Bessie Williamson that she became known as the First Lady of Lefroy and was awarded the title of Women of the Year in the 1950s. In 1987, Ray Meahy fought and won her third attempt, the Westminster constituency of Argyll and Bute. Politics was in her blood. As a teenager, she supported her father as holding speaker in the far-flung constituency of Inverness until he arrived from previous meetings. Argyll and Bute, as you will have heard me say, is diverse and contains 23 inhabited islands, which Ray was regularly a visitor of. Often her ferry trips turned into impromptu surgeries, something that I recognise. Her two main aims at Westminster were Scottish self-government and the development of the Gaelic language. She was therefore delighted in the creation of her long-fought-for Scottish Parliament, and I'm sure she would be delighted to see the increased representation of women in this session. So, a scientist, a politician and a distiller. Women who have played an extraordinary role in the history of Scotland and wider. To finish, Presiding Officer, I will quote the International Women's Day website, and I feel that this is particularly poignant with regard to what we are seeing happening in the independent country of Ukraine. Imagine a gender-equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together we can forge women's equality. Collectively we can all break the bias.